Hello, Cancer, and welcome to your reading. This is Bright Soul Collective Tarot, and my name is Laura, and these will be your intuitive insights and advice for the month of April 2022. So this reading will be for Cancer, Sun, Moon, and Rising. And as always, before we get into the card reading, please do keep in mind these readings are general in nature, so not all of the information that comes through will be for you specifically. So definitely take anything and everything that does resonate for you, however that makes sense for your specific situation. Keep an open mind to anything that might be helpful, and then you can simply leave the rest. So Cancer, happy spring. It's finally here. I hope March treated you well, and I'm looking forward to see what April might have to offer so that we can have you feeling empowered to make the most out of this month. I will start the reading off by sharing the channeled messages, so the messages that I sat down to connect with and channel before I got your oracle cards out. So we'll start with that. We'll read your cards, your oracle cards. We'll pull you some tarot and clarifier, finish off with some affirmations as usual, but I'm doing something a little bit different at the end of this reading. I will be pulling a third and final oracle card from a different deck, and instead of doing an in-depth open interpretation as I do at the beginning of the video, I'm just going to read this one directly from the guidebook, and we're going to take that as a final little piece of insight or advice to help you kind of tie everything together and just to see if any of the themes that we come across in the general reading will be reflected and how that might help us out. It is something that I like to do when I'm reading for people in person, so I thought it would be a nice thing to include. So I will get into your channeled messages, and it was really interesting, Cancer. I am nearly done readings. I think you're the third last, so I have two more to do, like to record after this, and each one has been very different. Like the energy that I have been picking up on as I'm, preparing the cards and doing my kind of ritual and trying to channel information. So yeah, it's been very, very different. And the energy, the impression that I was getting as I was starting to connect with your energy is very different from all of the other piles. And it was almost like a sadness, not like a really deep sadness. It can be, but it was kind of like, is kind of like a nostalgia or, a sense of missing someone, longing for another time and place or a person. Yeah, so I'm not sure if you might identify that with that. Perhaps that's an energy that you're in or that, might be coming in for you this month. But yeah, it was kind of like a sentimental energy, like missing someone or something. The other thing that I noticed is I had a headache, but it was like kind of right in my temples, right around my eyes and up around the front of my head. And there was actually one reading a couple of months ago where I got this same sensation. And the way that I explained it was it was almost like a tension headache from squinting. So I don't know if you've ever experienced like when you're squinting or your eyes are really strained for a long period of time, sometimes it gives you a headache, like right, and you feel it kind of like right in your temples, and it kind of goes around the front of your head and around your eyes. And sometimes even around the back of your head and down. So that is something that I kind of picked up on. So if that resonates for you, I would just be mindful if you are like squinting a lot or straining your eyes, if you're having difficulty reading, for example. Perhaps you might be spending a long time staring at a screen, and it might just be a matter of making sure that you're getting up, taking breaks, even just making sure like over the course of time that you're taking a few moments to look away from your screen and allow your eyes to focus on something further away, because sometimes that can kind of cause those same types of issues. And that being said, if you have glasses or corrective lenses, it might be just a matter of making sure that you're wearing them so that you're not putting too much strain on your eyes and those muscles. And if you are wearing glasses, or if you don't have glasses whatsoever, it might be worth maybe getting your eyes checked and seeing if you might be in need of a prescription, if that might be able to ease it for you, or if you do have a prescription, if this is something that you're suffering from, maybe consider having your eyes checked, and maybe your prescription might need to be adjusted. I'm just putting that out there just because that's something that I definitely felt, and I recognize that from the times that I've spent too much time reading or squinting into the sun can do it too, sunglasses. And one last thing that I noticed before I actually started channeling your messages was that I was kind of not happy with my environment. Like I wasn't feeling comfortable. It wasn't kind of like in the zone. So I kind of got the sense that like ambiance or like the mood is important to you. Like in order for you to be able to relax, it's like, you know, the lighting just right, like put some music on. Like I immediately thought I need music. And generally, music is not helpful to me if I'm channeling information. So I just put on like a meditative track on YouTube. I think it was like 620 something hertz or whatever. So it was just like nice and relaxed background music, but like just to kind of set the mood and get me relaxed. And then it's like I ended up turning off the harsh light and I was just sitting here in the dark with the candlelight only. So yeah, you might be, you also might be somebody who does their best work when listening to music, or you find like, you know, having a different type of music for whatever given task you're doing or whatever mood you're in. That might be something that's important to you, is having music playing. But yes, I get the sense that it's like kind of having the right mood in the room or whatever you're doing is something that helps you kind of either get in the zone to do work or, you know, relax, whatever that may be. Okay, so we'll get into your messages. The first thing that came through was Forbes, which I thought was kind of interesting because I don't have a lot of context for that. So I know there's obviously Forbes magazine, which is all about, you know, business, finance. I don't really know a whole lot about that. So it could be Forbes magazine if you're a business person, or if that's something that's meaningful to you. It could be simply a name, like a last name. It could be the name of a location. I'm not sure how that might be significant to you if it is. The next thing that came through was like a rattlesnake, but it was like, it wasn't a concept of a rattlesnake. I actually kind of got like an image of a rattlesnake, like sitting there all coiled up. And so, yeah, I don't know, maybe there might be some specific connection to rattlesnakes, you know, from your past. Maybe you've had encounters with them. Maybe there's a fear of snakes specifically. But I did take a moment to look up like the spiritual significance of snakes. Snakes have a lot to do with like transformation, spiritual transformation, death and birth. And they're also associated with healing. And it's kind of the idea that you know, snakes have to shed their skin like constantly in order to be able to grow. And like in the same way, like, you know, we kind of have to shed layers of ourselves and let go of things that are limiting us in order to expand and grow. So that could be a theme for you. If the idea of a snake might stand out to you, it might be worth doing some Googling and see, like on a spiritual level, if it has some significance to you. I have no idea, totally random. The next thing that came through was endless love, and I wasn't really sure what that was. I had the sense that it was some kind of pop culture reference, but I didn't actually have like context for it when it came through. So I was like, oh, maybe it's just like, you know, really romantic, like somebody's focusing on their like, you know, love of a lifetime, like a never-ending love story kind of thing. But sure enough, when I put it into Google, it's an old song. I think there's also an older movie called Endless Love. I don't know much about the movie, but I did take a moment to listen to the song and read the lyrics. I think like, you know, it was Lionel Richie and Diana Ross. So it's like a really lovely duet. And gosh, like it made me cry like almost immediately. It made me really, really sad. So I don't know if that song, you know, has some kind of meaning to you. It may be connected to a certain person or an event. It might just be a really beautiful song that you like. Maybe you've never heard of it before and it's something you need to connect with. So it might be worth listening to or reading the lyrics and seeing if you resonate with that specifically. And I will mention this just while we're on the topic of music, because this was after I finished kind of like intentionally channeling your messages. But when I was shuffling your cards, your oracle cards, all of a sudden the song Yesterday by the Beatles came into my head. And it was like the first couple of lines, like, you know, yesterday all my troubles seem so far away, you know, like I would recommend that you listen to the song, read the lyrics and see what resonates for you. But it was specifically like, I believe in yesterday. So yeah, there might be some things from your from your past that you're looking back on fondly, or that, you know, you're missing. Kind of goes along with that feeling of like longing, sentimentality. And the other thing that's interesting too is like the whole music theme seems to be big with you guys this this month, because last month in my channeled messages I did have almost at least one song coming through for each sign, but I haven't had as many songs, right? There was maybe one or two other signs, and it was just kind of like a questionable song reference, but like these ones are like, there's absolutely no doubt in my mind. So thought I would share that with you. The next thing that came through is gracious host. So you may be in a position where you're hosting somebody, or you may be like attending some kind of event or function. Maybe like being a gracious host is something important to you, to embody that yourself, or, you know, to see other people in that energy. I have no idea how that might apply to your situation. The next thing that came through was overcoming adversity. And I got this image. It's almost like one of those military exercises, like those military courses where they have those like huge like wooden walls that you have to scale. And it's like, I kind of, as the word like overcoming adversity came through, I got the imagery of somebody like scaling this giant wall. So this, obviously, it doesn't have to be a test of physical strength or fitness. This can be more symbolic or metaphorical, I suppose. But yeah, the sense that maybe there's a challenge that seems like really difficult, insurmountable, something that might take a lot of time or training or effort in order to have the strength or the skill or the ability to overcome. Maybe just encountering a really difficult test and kind of being able to lean into and use a level of strength that maybe you didn't know you had in you. And yeah, it's kind of like there was a feeling of like succeeding, like being really tested and, you know, proving to yourself that you're able to overcome, coming out the other side and celebrating your strength. So however, if that resonates for you, I'm not sure. The next thing that came through was September, and in terms of September, I got the sense that it might be associated with an important date or an important event, past, present, or future. Like there's something meaningful to do with September. And okay, this next one was really interesting. So it was malevolent and benevolent. And so the interesting thing is, like, each time that I tried to kind of like figure out like, okay, well, which word is it? It's like the end was the same. So the like evolent, right? And it's like, it would start with mal and then it would go to ben, and like it was like fluctuating between malevolent and benevolent. And it's like, I knew what the end was, but I couldn't figure out the beginning. And so the interesting thing is, those are obviously, those are opposites, right? It's kind of like good and bad. And you know, one fact of life is duality. Like that kind of duality will always exist. You know, light and dark, good and evil, or ideas like positive, negative. So that is kind of emphasized, and the impression that it gave me, it's kind of like the little angel and devil on your shoulder, and how we are susceptible to both kind of like malevolent or not necessarily healthy and empowered choices, and then we've got like, you know, more positive and holistic choices that we can make, and you know, we're susceptible to kind of going in either direction, and ultimately it's our choice. So I don't know how that might apply to you. Maybe you're somebody who's like very aware of the little angel and the little devil on your shoulder, and you have to really exercise a lot of discretion when you're in situations or dealing with people. It might just be recognizing those tendencies in other people and accepting like the duality, you know, that is the nature of life and people. Maybe you're in a situation where those qualities and the disparity between those two ends of the spectrum are really highlighted. I'm not sure, but it was very, very interesting, because it was almost like they're so different, but it's like the word was like consistently interchangeable. It's like they were so connected that I couldn't isolate like it's one versus the other. It was the two of them together. So Really cool. The next thing was organized chaos. So you may feel as though things are a little bit chaotic, maybe like a little out of control, but yet still manageable. And you're just doing your best to kind of keep everything under wraps. So yeah, there's the sense of like, yeah, chaos, but that can also mean like excitement, right? And even the sense of something being unfinished, like a house that's being renovated, or like being in the middle of a move, and it's like there's kind of stuff everywhere, and you might know where things are and you might be able to access them, but things are not necessarily organized in a way to allow them to be really efficient. So that might be posing a bit of a challenge if that resonates for you. The next thing was mental fortitude. So it kind of goes along with overcoming adversity. So like that might be a main theme for you this month. It's just like really kind of like keeping your mind right, your thoughts, your perceptions, your beliefs, keeping yourself on track in that sense, so that you're not kind of derailed by any kind of negative thinking, especially if there's a lot going on and you've got challenging situations to deal with. So it's kind of like leaning on your mental fortitude to get you through when otherwise things are not going very smoothly, or perhaps coming into a new level of understanding or appreciation for your strength of mind and will. The next thing was everybody but me. So there might be a sense of being a little bit isolated or a bit left out. Or it could also be like you specifically standing out in comparison to other people. So it could be a positive thing, it could be a negative thing. I'm not sure. There's just a sense of you being highlighted and isolated in some way. And I didn't get the sense whether it was like feeling positive or negative about it. It just, or maybe it just is, maybe it's just something you've accepted. If that makes sense to you. The next was friends with benefits, which obviously we know can be two people who are interested in each other, but not necessarily committed to a serious relationship. If that makes sense to you, great. The other way that it, like the way that it really kind of came through for me was actual like friends with benefits. So like friends who are connected, maybe you've got people who can connect you with support or resources. Maybe you get to experience some perks as a result of the friends that you have. And I didn't get the sense that this is like you having a bunch of people that can like give you things, but it's kind of like maybe a network of people who are connected and helping each other out, and like everybody gets to benefit, and everybody's kind of helping each other out. So that was kind of nice if that applies to you. The next thing was kind of the concept of getting in your own head and doubting yourself, maybe like overthinking or overcomplicating things. So that might be something to watch out for this month, especially if that's something you're prone to. I would be aware of, maybe any time that you start to get into that space. The next was mysticism and like modern day mystics. So perhaps that's something that's interesting to you, experiencing the world in a more spiritual way through intuition and your inner knowing, an idea of being able to be connected to and to receive wisdom and awareness through a higher level of consciousness, that kind of stuff. You'll know if that makes sense to you, but yeah, that might be something that has your attention. It might be something that you're curious about, something that you've been working on or developing, or that you're interested in doing so. The next thing that came through was entero, like Entero. So it's like enterovirus, enterobacter. Like, so I did Google it, and yeah, enterovirus is one of the many types of, common cold that we would experience, just like rhinovirus and stuff like that. So I'm not sure. It might be like just being aware of the common cold. Maybe you've recently had the common cold. I don't know what kind of significance that might have. Maybe you have had an experience with enterovirus specifically. I don't know. The next thing was fragmented personality. So yeah, you may feel like you're a little bit splintered. There's kind of a sense of longing for unity, like longing to kind of heal and to take all of those fragmented pieces and kind of put them back together so that everything is in harmony and you're able to function effectively. And this may not be you specifically, it may be someone that you're dealing with. But yeah, usually our personality can become fragmented, you know, and when we have trauma that needs healing, things that have impacted us in such a way that we're not able to truly connect with ourselves and express ourselves authentically. It can be the ways that, you know, our trauma or our experiences or the expectations that have been placed on us cause us to act one way to appease other people, even though on the inside we don't identify with that and we would normally want to conduct ourselves a different way. So that can cause kind of like fractured energy, a fractured personality. Maybe that's something that you have come to realize. Maybe that's something you're struggling with, I'm not sure. And then finally was kicking off your shoes. So like putting your feet up, relaxing at the end of a long day, giving yourself the chance to just rest. So that might be important for you this month. And we'll get into your cards. So your first card is Not For You. And your second card is Follow Your Own Rhythm. Interesting. So follow your own rhythm, like that would kind of make sense why music is coming up. Maybe that is part of the way, like not only like rhythm in the musical sense, but that might also be a way that you kind of connect to yourself, and maybe you experience the world and connect to yourself and the world around you through music. Interesting. And also interesting that Not For You came up. There was one other sign that had this card this month, I believe Capricorn. So you may be dealing with a Capricorn. If you know your own personal astrology, you might also have Capricorn in your chart. But yeah, this is actually, it's kind of like an interesting vibe that these are going together. So with Not For You, this is the sense that it's like feeling as though there's something that's really important to you or something that you're very much focused on, creating, manifesting, accomplishing, that just like isn't working, or, you know, it feels like it's being kept from you. It feels like you're being denied or rejected. And this could be an actual rejection, an actual loss. It could be just a sense of like everything that you do to try and move something forward doesn't actually get you ahead. It doesn't actually materialize anything. So it can be the sense that no matter how hard you work, it's just not happening. So however that energy might be showing up for you, however you might relate to that, whatever it is that you're focused on that you feel as though is being denied you, it's basically saying that like, yes, it is being denied you, and that is, you know, that is for a reason. And it can be difficult to be in that space, especially if we're very much focused on what we want and we think that this is what's best for us. It can be really difficult to understand why. But this card is very much about acceptance and the fact that, you know, we can't always have access to the things that we want when we want it. We don't always get what we want when we want it. Sometimes things are not meant for us entirely, you know, and we're meant to just kind of move beyond it and allow ourselves the opportunity to connect with something that is meant for us, that will make us happy. And sometimes it's just a matter of like divine timing. So like now is just not the right time, and it's not to say never, but there's a reason why things aren't panning out for you. And at this point in time, it's not going to serve you to continue to pour your effort and energy into it, or to try to, you know, control the situation or move it in that direction. Because if you get the sense that it's being denied you, and it's trusting that that is in your best interest, right? And it can be difficult to experience that, but it's all about like rejection is God's protection. And so if you are being denied something, it's ultimately in your highest interest, whether you're able to understand why that might be or not. We're not necessarily meant to have all of those details, but it's trusting that there's kind of like, whether you believe in like spirituality, a higher kind of realm, or God, or, you know, however you want to think about it, it's basically saying that there's a higher consciousness, a higher wisdom, there's a benevolent, you know, force that wants the best for you, that's helping drive you in a direction of your highest good. And anything that's being denied you right now is basically trying to get you on the path where you will be connecting with the things that are meant for you, instead of tying your energy up in something that isn't necessarily going to be what you need. And sometimes what we need isn't always what we want. So that can be a difficult energy. But yeah, this is about recognizing that the best way that we can deal with this type of rejection is just radical acceptance. It's just accepting that, sometimes it's not in our control. Sometimes we don't get to make things happen. And sometimes even the best laid plans go awry. You could do everything perfectly, and sometimes things can still not work out, and that's okay. And it's kind of like, especially if it's really highlighted, if you are the type of person or you're in a type of situation where whatever this is, it's like you've done everything right, you've done everything you can think of, and you haven't given up, and it's just not working out, then that just highlights the fact that like you're being protected from whatever this is. And it's trusting that even if this thing that you're focused on or that you're trying to do right now never ends up, being a major part of your life and never ends up materializing, it's the fact that to be able to accept that that's not for you and to let go of it means that you're going to be open to new experiences, and you're going to be able to connect with something that really will make you happy. And it's saying like, when one door closes, another one opens. And if something is not there are so many things out there that are meant for you. There are experiences that you're meant to have that are going to be in your highest good, that are going to be enjoyable for you. So why would you want to tie up your time and energy in something that's not panning out, right? And so it's trusting that there's bigger and better out there for you, and you're on your way there. And part of getting there is is just accepting when things don't work out, when things are denied, and that it's not necessarily a reflection of your effort or your value or your worth. It's just simply the fact that there's something better, right? And so whatever it is that you're focused on, that you're trying to make happen that isn't working, there's something even better out there waiting for you. And now is just the opportunity to kind of disconnect from that which isn't working, so that you can have like an open vessel to receive, right? And this is also about following your heart as well, because this can be about like not only being rejected and being able to recognize and accept that like that is a necessary and important part of life, and ultimately it's in our best interest, but also if you're in a position where you need to be rejecting like someone or something, right? Turning something down because in your heart and in your soul that it's just not right for you. It's like that is one of the most wonderful and empowering things that you can do for yourself and for other people, because you're being true to yourself and honest to yourself. You're not tying up your time and energy and dishonoring yourself by pursuing something that isn't right for you, because the things that aren't meant for you and the things that aren't right for you can't be forced. They can't be made to be right. And I'm sure most of you would know what I'm talking about, because whether it's a romantic relationship, whether it's a friendship, whether it's a job or a certain situation, it's like, there are some times when it's like you just can't possibly continue, because you just you're not interested, you don't like it, it's not going to work for you, and you have to, sometimes we know immediately too, and you have to give yourself the freedom to be released and leave that situation, because no matter how much effort you put in, no matter how long you stay, no matter how much you try, you can't force something that's not for you. And so just like we can relate to that and making decisions based on what we know, the same goes for the things that like we're wanting that are being denied. So it's all kind of part of that same energy. And so it's recognizing that if there's something that you have to reject, something that you have to move on from or to turn down, someone that you have to kind of leave behind, that is, that's the best thing that you can do for yourself and for that person. I think the guidebook says like for every pot there is a lid, and like maybe this isn't the right fit. So it's not like you're never going to find your fit, but if it's not the right fit, you don't want to dishonor yourself and that other person from, you know, finding your true match, because it's, if it doesn't fit, you're never going to force it to, right? And there's no sense trying, because, you know, that just ends up being a real drain. And yeah, there are a lot of complications that can arise from doing that. So yes, this is very much about accepting whatever that is. And the beautiful thing is that it came out alongside follow your own rhythm. And this is like really, really, truly getting to know yourself, the rhythms and cycles of your body and your mind and your energy, a deeper level of awareness, like getting in tune with yourself and being able to determine, like, you know, where you're at, right? Like, so this is basically saying, like, we obviously have rhythms and cycles naturally, right? Like the circadian rhythm, it's like, you know, we're meant to go to sleep when the sun sets, wake up when the sun rises, that kind of stuff that impacts our metabolism and everything, right? Like biologically, yes. But it's also saying that, like, each and every individual, is unique. We all have our own rhythms. Some people are morning people and they have a lot of energy and vigor in the morning. That's when they do their best work. That's when they're the most efficient. Some people it's midday, some people it's evening, some people it's like, you know, in the middle of the night. We need, you know, different circumstances. And so that kind of made me think actually of like setting the mood, like having the music, having the candlelight in order to relax, having the right environment that's conducive. So it's like, it's about knowing yourself and what you need to be successful, and being able to kind of tune into what your body and your intuition is telling you and to make the most of that energy. So in acknowledging that we have cycles and like energy cycles, it's like there's always going to be a time for rest and a time for action, right? So it's like we have to sleep, we're going to have to be awake, and we have to work, but your cycle might not look the same as somebody else's, right? So it's also not committing yourself to a way of life just because that's the norm, or just because that's what's expected, or because it's imposed on you. It's recognizing that, like, you know, for example, you might have a job where they expect you to, like, you know, be fully functioning at like 6 a.m, and you're like, hey, like I do my best work at noon, right? So it's like you might have to find ways to honor that. And it's like, if it's a situation where it's like really super rigid and doesn't allow you the opportunity to kind of take advantage of your natural rhythms and cycles, then maybe if that's something that's really important to you, like maybe you need to consider moving away from that, right? And I think this especially, like, it kind of makes sense to me with all of the work from home that's been going on, is it's like, it might be the sense that if you're in a job where you can work from home, and it's one of those situations, like it doesn't matter when you work, as long as you put in X amount of hours a day or X amount of hours a week, and like XYZ is done by the end of the week, or you meet your deadlines, then maybe you have bosses that don't care, they just monitor your hours. So it's like, in that sense, you might have developed a schedule that really suits you, right? And maybe you do most of your work, maybe you do your best work from like, you know, 2 to 6 a.m. and then you sleep for like the first half of the morning. And so it's kind of saying like anything is possible, and you know, you kind of have to pay attention to what your body is telling you and do what's best for you, so that you can take action when you've got that energy and you can make the most of it and be efficient, and so that you're not pushing yourself too hard at times when you need a rest. So it's like your body will tell you when you need to rest and when you need to take action. And that's not even like a day-to-day basis, but this is also like the like kind of larger cycles of our life. You know, sometimes we will go through phases where it's time to rest, and you know, and in that sense, you feel your energy kind of slow down a bit, like your desires, your motivation kind of wanes, and you want to be in more calm and restful settings, right? And connecting with people that are going to be like soothing and relaxing, right? And maybe doing a little bit more introspection. And this happens naturally. And then, you know, when your energy starts to pick up and it's time to take action, it's like, you'll have this kind of motivation return, these ideas that you're wanting to take action on. You might, want to be more social, or to be looking to connect with energetic people, or be in social situations that are going to get you out of your shell and have you kind of like charging that social battery. And so it's kind of like, you're always going to be going through these stages, and whether you're aware of it consciously or not, it's kind of like the drives and the longing and the inclinations that you feel, and trusting that. So it's like you don't want to deny what you're picking up on. So if it's a time for rest and you're feeling like slowing down and maybe you need to turn inward, it's not a time to like push yourself extra hard and just get it done, right? So it's kind of like being able to honor, because like there's always going to be a need for rest, there's always going to be a need for work, and it's like it's unavoidable. So you might as well tune into what your body and what your soul is telling you, because that's kind of like, that's your DNA, that's specific to you, and that's going to help you live a life that's more balanced. And obviously, like, there's only so much that we can do when it comes to like external situations that are out of our control. But like, this is basically saying like, it's totally okay for you to honor your cycle and not to worry about like, if other people are pushing you, like, well, this is a time that you should be like educating yourself or taking action or building your business. Like maybe it's really just, if you're feeling like a slowdown, maybe it really just is time for you to take a rest and to recuperate, regroup, right? Connect with yourself and see what you're feeling, and save your energy for when it's time to take action, and trust that you'll know when that is. So yeah, this is very interesting. It's kind of like, it's like the dance of life, right? There's always ebb and flow. And so I think that's really lovely. It's really empowering. There was something else that I was going to say and I just lost it. This also speaks to like, you might be somebody who already kind of does this, and maybe people, maybe you've gotten flack about it too, because sometimes people don't like people who kind of march to the beat of their own drum and do things in their own way. So for example, like if you've been invited out on like a Friday night and you're like, actually no, I'm gonna like hang out, I'm gonna have a bubble bath, I'm gonna drink some prosecco and watch Netflix or whatever whatever the case may be, it's like maybe you catch flack because it's like, no, Friday night is the time to like get together with people and go out and be social or party. And maybe people like don't understand that you're just kind of listening to what you need rather than going along with the flow. Because it's like, if you were in that energy where you wanted to go out and party and it was the time for you to do that, to be social, then you would be drawn to do it, right? So it's kind of like honoring yourself and making sure you're making empowered decisions that are going to give you what you need, and recognizing that not everybody does that, and not everybody is going to understand when you don't kind of follow the mainstream opinion or schedule or rhythm. And that might be like, hey, like I have a break, maybe I'm just going to go take a nap on my lunch break, because taking a nap is going to be more helpful to me than sitting at a table or sitting in my car and like eating a sandwich or something, like, just for example, right? Just knowing what you need. Yeah, so I think that's really lovely. And perhaps part of you having whatever this is denied, or it not being the time or the thing for you, it's like maybe you're not going to win at this game, but you can, it's like you might win, just not at this game, not right now. So it's like whatever that block is, whatever it is that's being kept from you or that isn't for you, perhaps the whole point of this experience and the point of this rejection is to help you become more aware and more in tune with your own cycle and honoring yourself and what is best for you, right? And maybe the thing that you're wanting isn't going to allow you to do that, or maybe it's going to take you into, maybe it would take you into an unhealthy rhythm, which is going to be draining for you and not allowing you to make the most of your like kind of like creative energy, right? So yeah, this could be, like, I get the sense that like you're being given the gift of of protection from whatever that is. And it's all about you connecting more deeply with yourself. So chances are, whatever this thing is, it may not be meant for you, and it may not be something that materializes for you, but it might give you the opportunity to connect to yourself and offer yourself a little bit more understanding in terms of like who you are and what works best for you, and just kind of being able to follow that and incorporate that into your life like unapologetically, even if it's not like the typical way of doing things. Like it's like you don't want to be stifled, right? Okay, so we're going to pull you some tarot cards. Okay, so your first card is the Three of Pentacles. Your second card is the Queen of Swords. You actually got an extra card. I will keep it. So for your third placement, your third card placement, you got two. You got the Two of Pentacles and the Five of Swords. I'm going to set those apart. I'm going to have to make a little bit more room here. Sorry, so I figure out my spacing. All right, so let's get you one more card. Okay, I like that. Gosh, you have lots of swords showing up here already. And at the bottom of the deck, we have the Four of Wands. Hey, look at that. It looks like they're at a music festival and they're like dancing and playing music. So I think that's kind of perfect for the whole music theme and following your own rhythm. But yes, I see that you've got a lot of swords here. So there's a lot to do with your thoughts, your perceptions, your beliefs about yourself and the world around you. So what I'm going to do is I will get all of your clarifiers immediately off the bat. So I'll clarify all the cards that are there now, and then I'll just do a read of them all together. Okay, so we'll clarify the Three of Pentacles first. Well, some of the tarot cards for like past readings have been so confident. They've come out immediately. Yours are a little more discerning. Okay, so the Three of Pentacles is clarified by the Seven of Swords. Let's clarify this Queen of Swords. Queen of Swords is clarified by the Two of Cups. We'll clarify, since these two came out together for this card placement, I'm going to just get one clarifier for them. So we'll clarify the Two of Pentacles and Five of Swords. Clarified by the Mother of Pentacles, which is Queen of Pentacles in this deck. And then finally, we will get clarification for the Ace of Swords. Sorry, I had a couple fall out. There's too many cards for me to work with. Let's just get one clarifier for this Ace of Swords. Son of Wands. All right. Which would be the Knight of Wands in this deck. And then you've got the Hermit at the bottom of the deck. Okay, so to have the Four of Wands and the Hermit here at the bottom of the deck, these are actually like kind of conflicting energies, because the Four of Wands, it's like very passionate, it's very it can have a lot to do with other people, relationships, and community. A lot of the time it'll signify like some kind of event, some kind of occasion, celebration, like it could be a wedding. A lot of times the Four of Wands also can correspond to like a twin flame kind of like romantic relationship. But yeah, it's a card of joy, of expression, like allowing yourself to celebrate, you know, to dance, to express yourself, to connect with other people. It's like passionate, right? And it's full of creative energy, like almost like dance and music as an outlet for your passion, your creativity, your emotion, right? Like a way to kind of express that. And for that to come up with the Hermit is, it's a very wise energy. It's about kind of withdrawing and being isolated, spending time alone in your own company, and kind of being able to having the right kind of quiet environment to reflect on yourself, your experiences, your feelings, to kind of introspect and to gain access to your own inner wisdom, your own inner light, your intuition, and to kind of get an understanding of who you are and, you know, the things that you've experienced. So it's kind of like sometimes we withdraw from the world in order to better understand our own experience. And sometimes we have like revelations and come to a new level of understanding of the things that have happened to us as a result of just being alone in our own energy and kind of reflecting. And so this is like, you know, being able to connect with your own wisdom, knowing what's right for you, lighting your own path, and not needing to connect with anyone or anything outside of yourself to teach you or to validate you or to confirm, because it's like it's all within you, right? And it's almost like having that relationship and that trust with yourself, that you can be like a turtle in your shell, that you always have that constant, stable, safe place that is only yours, that no one can kind of penetrate, to go back into, right? To retreat into, to do your inner work, to rest and recuperate. And so it's kind of like, yeah, it is kind of duality, right? That it's like, you can't stay in the hermit energy forever, right? But it's a safe space to go back to. Even if you've been out celebrating and having a good time, ultimately your battery will be drained and you'll need to kind of have that space and time to yourself. So I think it's about embracing both, embracing time alone and embracing the beauty of solitude and the gifts that that has to offer. And then also being able to connect with and celebrate with other people, to express yourself, to share your passion with other people. And so that's the underlying energy that's going on here. So it's kind of like maybe even about bringing that into balance. So you are being encouraged to come into this month in a very kind of practical, collaborative type of energy. So the Three of Pentacles is about, yeah, collaboration, community, teamwork, people working together to achieve a common goal. So this could be, you know, in the workplace, it could be a project that you're working on. Each individual person has their own unique talents and skills that they bring to that project, in addition to having their own responsibilities in terms of like a checklist, things to do, things to contribute. And it's being able to work harmoniously. So each person is, you know, accountable. They're taking care of their own task. And so there's kind of like a sense of trust and unity, but there's also the sense that, like, you know, sometimes we inevitably need help or support, and like open communication, asking for help when needed, giving support, and like, you know, everybody's kind of doing their part and doing what needs to be done to make this work together. So it's kind of like weaving a tapestry, right? And it's recognizing that each individual person plays an important role, and that it would not be the same and things would not go as smoothly without one. So it's like the sense of allowing other people, because this doesn't even have to be a project, this could be any type of collaboration, but it's like allowing other people to have a place, to have a say, acknowledging their value, acknowledging what they bring to your life, and allowing them to have impact on, you know, whatever, like however this energy may apply. It's like allowing them to have a say. So you see, like, nobody here is overseeing or managing or dictating. It's kind of like three equals working together, and it's mutual respect. And it's kind of like, this can be team building, this can be connection, and this is very much rooted in the material world. So it could have to do with, it could have to do with a project, it could have to do with work or money, it could have to do with home life, like building, renovation, relationships in the home. Like it's kind of like a practical energy, productive energy. And so, yes, I very much get the sense that this would be like perhaps working in a group collaboratively. It could be with friends, family, coworkers. It could be like in a hobby. And it's kind of like in a situation where everybody plays a role, everybody has to play their own part. And it's recognizing that, yeah, no one person is better or more important than the other. And just kind of respecting, respecting the fact that the balance and the collaboration would be disrupted if one person was trying to kind of like commandeer the whole thing, or if one person said like, no, you're doing this wrong, leave. Like, so yeah. And then with it coming up with the Seven of Swords, the Seven of Swords can be about like, it can be about deceit, lies, betrayal, like cheating, people doing shady things, like maybe not having the best of intentions. And it can be connected to our own fears and anxieties. It can be connected to self-sabotage. So it can be like the ways that we kind of deceive ourselves, or it could be like working with other people who are deceptive. And so this might be kind of recognizing any barriers that you have to like collaborating with other people, especially in terms of them being equals, and maybe not trusting that people are going to do what they say they're going to do, or that they're going to pull their own weight, and worrying that you're going to have to be the one to like take charge or like do everything yourself. And it could be as a result of previous experiences or previous people that you've worked with that have been deceptive or that have taken advantage of you. And so it's kind of recognizing that there might be some unhealthy or unhelpful thoughts or perceptions around other people, the value that they bring, their ability to complete tasks, their ability to work collaboratively, or like for team environments and collaborative endeavors to be successful without one person doing the majority of the work. So yes, it seems like there might be a chance to do some healing and to kind of perhaps challenge some of these things. And it may also be like being aware when you are working in a collaborative environment where it's essential that you trust each other, that if you get the sense that somebody is not necessarily above board, or somebody's kind of like sabotaging or not pulling their weight, that might be something that you have to kind of that you kind of have to find a way to work through as a group, in the sense that like everybody is equal. And yeah, so it's just an awareness around this, however that energy applies to you, because it's a very unique kind of energy, right? And it's like you don't want to have your back up, especially in a team environment where it's really important that people like get along and that the general environment is conducive to work. You don't want to get your back up. You don't want to have a whole bunch of tension. People can sense when you don't trust them or when you don't believe in them. And sometimes that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, because if like you're really intense and they can tell that you feel like they're not doing their job, or like they're not on your level, then sometimes that can cause them to withdraw and actually behave in a way that would confirm that, instead of feeling empowered to do their best. So yeah, you might need to like not take charge, but you might be in a position where you're dealing with your own feelings or other people's feelings around teamwork, and you might need to kind of be helping everyone stay on the same page and kind of like work together. The challenge that's coming up for you this month is really really being able to fairly and firmly assert your truth, right? So the Queen of Swords energy, it's very, there's a lot of wisdom. There's a lot of knowledge of self, your own personal truth, what's true for you, what's best for you, what you believe in, being open to receiving information. It's like having a sharp intellect and mind, being able to receive and understand information to kind of determine what is true and what is not, and to make fair and educated decisions that are going to be beneficial for all involved. But this is not, because it's the queen, this is a more feminine kind of energy. So it's more about like, you're not necessarily going to be displaying that in a very outward, active, or aggressive leadership kind of way. It's kind of like a maternal energy, like nurturing, allowing people to take action, and then perhaps gently correcting, or, you know, allowing people to have space to do things, and not letting your emotions get the best of you. It's kind of like being able to balance things out, right? So because you can see the cup is locked away. So it's not that she doesn't have access to her emotions and her intuition. It's like she's able to draw from that in addition to you know, tangible observations and like, you know, data, resources, like rational stuff. So it's like, and also making decisions that so it's like judging. You're not always going to make decisions that are by the book. It's like you most of the time are going to be using your discretion, and you have a wide variety of like knowledge and wisdom and ways to receive information that you can draw on, and you're not going to deny any of those just to follow the book if it doesn't make sense for the specific situation. But yeah, it's like a very it's a very fair energy, and it's an energy that doesn't necessarily need to be like outward, controlling, leading, or demonstrative, because it's kind of like the way that you represent yourself, the way that you go about things, the way that you speak to people, the decisions that you make, the way that you honor your own truth. That kind of sets the example, and people are able to see that, and it sets an example for other people without being overbearing, right? And so it's like, that's going to be the challenge. So especially if you are working in a collaborative setting, and you may even be in more of a leadership kind of role, or you may be a natural leader, so it might need to just be like being really careful and really fair about how you're communicating with other people, how you're representing yourself, how you're dealing with situations, making sure you're taking other people's needs into consideration, and making sure that you're speaking in a manner that's firm but fair, right? And like, and honest, and not allowing your own personal emotions or your own personal biases to interfere. And because this is coming up with the Two of Cups, the Two of Cups is all about like very deep connections. Like they almost feel like fated connections. So a lot of the time it is connected to like a soulmate energy, which people associate primarily with romantic relationships, but it doesn't have to be a romantic relationship, because we have soulmates, many soulmates in our lifetime, and they come in different forms. Some of them are friends, some are family, some are romantic interests. Sometimes even like pets can be soulmates. Like it's just, you know, someone that you feel a really intense connection to, a really intense draw to. There's a sense of like knowing that person without really knowing them, a sense of familiarity that can't necessarily be explained. Sometimes there's even like a psychic connection in terms of like kind of being able to sense what somebody is thinking or feeling. And this is like a mutual experience for both people. So it could be that your feelings, so if you have like this soulmate type connection with somebody that you are working with in a collaborative capacity, or someone that you have like so yeah, this could be like renovating a house with a significant other. This could be working with somebody that you have a really deep and meaningful friendship with. Like it could be anything, right? And so it could be that whatever emotions that you have that are tied to this person or your experience of this person might sway you. It might kind of muddle your truth a little bit. It might kind of blur the lines between, what's fair and right and like what it is that you want. And so that it could be that, or it could also be like being in this type of relationship or being in this type of interaction, having that type of connection with somebody. It can be very intense. And it can almost be easy to like either want to go along with someone else's ideas or to want someone else to go along with your ideas. And so, especially if you are somebody that tends to lose themselves in relationships, or if you like in like any kind of relationship, or if you have a really strong personality and the people that you engage with, you become friends with, or you have these deep connections with, end up kind of like, kind of adjusting to you. It's basically like it's wanting things to be fair and equitable, wanting to honor your own personal truth and to understand that other people have their own personal truth, being willing to like agree to disagree. And so this is honestly like a very interesting kind of energy. I'm to be honest, I'm having a hard time kind of figuring out the context of this. So I have a sense that it's going to be very unique, very different, and very personal to each and every one of you. So I would be very curious to see like how this energy applies. But yeah, so this being able to sit firmly in your own truth, to be a fair and honest leader, and not to need to like kind of shout it or shout it out or shove it down people's throats, but to kind of quietly lead by example. Especially in connection to a loving relationship. You might also need to like, you might need to like the Two of Cups is about two equals coming together, like two happy people who are kind of, doing their own work and being accountable for their own things so that they can have a healthy, equitable, productive, enjoyable interaction and relationship. Perhaps there's like a little bit of difficulty, there's a little bit of imbalance, and perhaps you need to be in this energy of honoring your truth and being fair in order to kind of set the example for the other person. So you're not putting yourself above anyone else, and you're not establishing yourself as being in control or as the leader, but you might just need to kind of gently lead by example and kind of help set the tone for the relationship so that other person can meet you there, right? Because if you set the tone and if you hold the line, that other person is going to have to kind of like step up and do whatever work they need to do to come in as the other, to come in that same energy, right? Yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. Okay, so that is showing up as the challenge. So that might be kind of a block for you. That might be something that comes up. The next thing that came through, oh my gosh, this reading is really long. I'm sorry. The next thing, in order to help you overcome this, it's like, this is about balance. Like it's balancing out the practical everyday stuff, the work, the money, with your feelings, with your passion, with your inspiration, your inner wisdom, right? And the fact that that is a dance. It's always going to be in flux. So we're always going to be moving from one kind of side to the other. And this has everything to do with your rhythms. Like, sometimes we need to be more focused on the practical side of things and on our money and on our work, on our physical health and our material possessions. And other times we need to kind of retreat, to reflect, to do healing, to connect with ourselves and our intuition. And we're meant to kind of experience both aspects of life and bring them into harmony. And the best way that you're going to do that is by following your own rhythm, paying attention to what your body and what your soul is telling you, what you feel you need. And that's coming up with also like recognizing your limiting beliefs, your fears, the things that kind of keep you from honoring yourself. So it could be expectations that have been put on you. It could be ways that you sabotage yourself. as a result of feeling unworthy. It could be self-criticism. These are kind of just like unhelpful things. They're not truths, they're beliefs, and beliefs that aren't necessarily ours and aren't necessarily serving us. So there's a sense of like, sometimes it can feel true and we can become trapped, or we can sabotage ourselves because we get kind of caught up in our head. So it's basically recognizing the ways that your mind can deceive you, and the kind of limiting things that are keeping you stuck that your mind is telling you, recognizing that that's not your truth. It's something that you've picked up. And there's the opportunity for you to kind of release yourself from that, to change your mind about whatever that is. And it could be a denial of your ability to keep things in balance, or it could be a denial that that you do need to, balance out like work and play, or you do need to honor your own rhythm, even if that looks different, right? Because that can be being afraid to be yourself, to be your authentic self, and that this balance is going to look very different for you than for anyone else, and that not anyone else is going to necessarily understand or support that. But that you can find stability in that, right? Like, it's basically grounding yourself in your own energy and doing what feels right for you, and trusting that following your own rhythm, even if it seems obscure, even if you are kind of like not too sure about it, or you've got some limiting beliefs, or you've got some fears, or there are things holding you back, that ultimately that is going to help you. It's going to improve your stability. It's going to impact your life, like in the material realm. It could impact your productivity. And it's kind of like there really is the opportunity for you to level up and to kind of achieve a deeper sense of peace and stability. And the sense that I get is kind of living life on your terms. And the highest possible outcome for this month is actually like a totally new perspective, kind of like a shift in mindset, or the opportunity to kind of come to a new level of awareness or understanding on like how things can be done. So it can be a healing and release of all of these challenging thoughts and perceptions and beliefs that have been impressed upon you by other people or past circumstances, and being able to recognize what those are and that they're not helping you, and to release them. So the things that are not yours, they're not meant for you, they're not meant for you to be carrying, and to kind of open your mind. It's like that's the key. And there's an opportunity now for you to start connecting with the types of thoughts and beliefs and the way of perceiving yourself and the world that is going to make sense to you, that's going to be beneficial and empowering to you. And it's kind of like opening up a new door. And this could be directly related to your passion, right? Because the King of Wands is a very passionate and charismatic and enthusiastic kind of individual, right? Somebody who's very social, somebody who has the ability to impact other people. It's like an infectious energy. And so perhaps you haven't been letting a lot of that out, right? Perhaps you've kind of been like all work and no play. And this new perspective is about allowing you to kind of harness that light, that spark, the things that you're enthusiastic about, and to express that creatively, to allow yourself to be moved by that, and to kind of benefit from the way that might impact you, even on a social level, but also like in any situation where you're collaborating with other people. It's not only like your energy that can be shifted, but it's theirs as well. So it's kind of like shining the light for other people. And that's the sense that I get, is that you might be in a position where it's like you need to lead other people, or there are people that are in need of guidance and support and reassurance, and like kind of being shown the way, but not by being told what to do or being told what they're done wrong. I really do get the sense that you're on your own journey of development and following your own rhythm, but it's also about kind of setting an example for other people so that they can kind of get there themselves, if that makes sense. I don't know. This, like I said, this is my weirdest reading yet, Cancer. I have no idea. And I'm a Cancer moon, so I feel like I should identify with this, but I'm at a little bit of a loss right now. I hope this makes sense to you. I've had very few readings that kind of confuse me because you've got everything going on. Like you've got pentacles, you've got swords, you've got cups, you've got wands, you've got all of the energy here. So it's like you might just have a lot that you're working on. So I can find peace in every breath. So breath work might be something that's helpful, connecting to yourself, rest and recuperation. That might help you connect to your own inner rhythm, what's right for you, checking in with yourself. It's like getting into your body. When I shine bright, I give others permission to shine with me. So that's kind of what I just said, right? Is like, you might be in a position where it's like, you need to harness not only your inner wisdom, but your passion and your expression, and to bring that into balance so that you're allowing your life to be impacted, and you're allowing yourself to grow and to have experiences and to be expressive, but also allowing other people to be impacted by that, which is only going to deepen your own personal experience. I allow people to witness their behavior so I can help them move beyond it. So yeah, I do get the sense, like in a collaborative capacity, that it's like maybe you see the need for people to kind of like up their game, and it's just a matter of how do you communicate that with them. And it might not be something that you communicate with words or like the most traditional sense of teaching and lecturing. I think that it's, setting the example, holding the line, giving that kind of like being the stick for other people to kind of measure themselves by, and letting people kind of sit with their feelings about that, right? So it's like, if you are behaving in a certain way and that makes somebody uncomfortable, it's like letting them experience that discomfort, because that's ultimately highlighting something in them that they need to deal with, right? So it's like, you're just a mirror for the people around you so that they can kind of work through their own things and take responsibility for what's theirs. So it's not your job. It's not your job to fix people. I think that is a fair assumption. So, and I love my food and my food loves me. So food is important. It's nourishing. Keeping in mind like what you're eating, why you're eating it. Even setting like a gratitude or intention practice around food might help. Right, so we're going to get you, oh my gosh, too many cards. Can't take all of those. So I'm just going to put them back. We'll get you one. So yes, we're getting your final card to tie the reading all together. And as I said before, I'm just going to read directly from the book. So the card you got is Birthing a New Age. And it says, birthing new creations, dreaming a new world into being. All right, so let me get the guidebook here. Okay, so birthing a new age, birthing new creations, dreaming a new world into being. Often our path is exactly the one we don't feel prepared to walk. Walk it anyway. Often what is rising feels far bigger than we could possibly hold. Be a container for it anyway. Often our creations seem to have a wild, uncontrollable consciousness of their own. Birth them anyway. Often what is ours to do is the very thing that most intimidates us. Be courageous and do it anyway. We are birthing a new age. Right now, we're in a transition period between ages. In the process of allowing the old cycle to fall away and the new to rise, like driving in the fog and trusting the road will appear ahead, we need to release old identities in ways that no longer serve us, using our intuition as a compass. You are part of a group of souls who have been incarnating at significant periods of history, preparing for this exact time, dreaming a new world into being. Magdalene sisters, daughters of Isis, Asenis, priestesses, witches, mystics, healers, seers, artists, midwives, visionaries, guardians of the earth, and storytellers from times past. It is time to give permission and space for what is beckoning within to be born. We are dreaming a new world into being. Yeah, so that kind of connects to that modern day mystic, following your intuition, because it's like, I do get the sense that is there, and maybe because you have like a good kind of inner compass, you prefer to withdraw from people or to put walls up or to maybe isolate. And so it could be that It could be that collaborating and working with other people is kind of like something that you find really challenging or daunting, even if it is something that you're good at or you might feel drawn to. So that's really interesting. There's a light activation that goes with this. So it says, hold the card on your heart and say these words, but I'll hold it up for you. If you're interested in doing this, you can just take a look at the card. And then the words are, I am open to surrendering to the creations that are wanting to be birthed through me. May I be of service in a way that delights my mind, body, and soul. Please use me. Please lead me. Please show me the way. So, very interesting, very obscure reading. I don't even know what to say. It's been a trip. Cancer, it's been a trip. I hope this was helpful. I hope it was illuminating. I hope it made sense. I would absolutely love to know if and what resonated for you. So please leave me a comment if you feel inclined or reach out to me. If you enjoyed this video, please do like the video on YouTube. And if there's anyone that you can think of that might benefit from my content, please feel free to share that with them. If you haven't already, you can hop on over to my channel at Bright Soul Collective Tarot and check out some of my other readings. And if you haven't already, make sure you hit subscribe so that you can stay up to date on my new readings as they're posted. So Cancer, it's been a pleasure to read for you. I really do hope that this offers you some value because this has been very interesting for me. And I kind of get the sense that, like, as the month progresses, like, this is something that will make more sense. It will become more obvious. So it might be more situational based on what you're going through this month. But nonetheless, I hope this is helpful for you. I hope that April is a beautiful month for you. And yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for sharing this time and space. And I look forward to reading for you again next month. But in the meantime, I'm wishing you all the very best.